You wake up, you work, you pay bills, you save a little, and somehow, you're still exactly where you were 5 years ago. Meanwhile, the rich seem to multiply their money without even trying. You tell yourself it's luck, timing, connections. But what if the real reason is something nobody wants you to know? The middle class isn't failing by accident. It's designed that way. And until you understand the invisible trap you're living in, you'll keep running on a treadmill that goes nowhere. This isn't about motivation. This isn't about budgeting tips. This is about the fundamental game you don't even know you're playing. Most people think wealth is a math problem. Earn more, spend less, invest wisely. But if that were true, why do doctors live paycheck to paycheck? Why do engineers with six-figure salaries drown in debt? Because wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how the system is structured. The rich understand something you don't. Money doesn't grow from hard work. It grows from position, from systems that work while you sleep. But the middle class, they trade time for money, and time is the one currency you can never get back. Think about your paycheck. You work 40, 50, maybe 60 hours a week. You generate value for a company, but you only see a fraction of that value. The rest flows upward. To shareholders, to executives, to people who don't work harder than you, they just position themselves differently. This is what the middle class doesn't understand. Wealth isn't built by working, it's built by owning. But you were never taught this. You were taught to be a good employee. And while you do that, you make someone else rich. Here's where it gets darker. The system isn't just rigged. It's designed to keep you comfortable enough that you don't question it. You earn enough to pay your bills. Maybe take a vacation once a year. Buy some things you want. You're not starving. You're not desperate. You're just stuck. And that comfort is the cage, because if you were truly suffering, you'd rebel. But comfortable people stay put. The rich know this. That's why they don't fear the middle class. The middle class is too busy working, too tired to think, too comfortable to risk anything. They're predictable. And because they're predictable, they're controllable. Every single month you pay for things that transfer your wealth to someone else. Rent, mortgage, car payments, subscriptions, insurance, interest on debt. All of it flows out of your pocket into someone else's empire. Take housing. The middle class saves for years to buy a house. They take on a 30-year mortgage. They pay interest that often doubles the actual cost. And they think they're building wealth because they own property. But do they? The bank owns it until it's paid off. Meanwhile, the wealthy don't buy homes to live in. They buy properties that generate income, assets that other people pay for. See the difference? The middle class buys liabilities disguised as assets. The rich buy true assets, things that put money in their pocket every month. Let me give you a real example. If you earn £60,000 a year and spend £55,000, you feel responsible, disciplined even. But if someone owns 10 rental units generating £500 each per month, that's £60,000 a year without trading time, without showing up anywhere, without permission from a boss. Same income, completely different game. The middle class buys cars that depreciate. The rich buy businesses that appreciate. The middle class saves cash that inflation erodes. The rich invest in assets that outpace inflation. It's not about how much you earn. It's about what you do with what you earn. Here's the part that really stings. The middle class is told to save. Save for retirement. Save for emergencies. And saving sounds smart, right? Responsible. Except when you save money in a bank, you're literally lending your money to the bank at almost zero interest, so they can lend it to someone else at high interest. You're funding their wealth with your discipline. And retirement? The middle class works for 40 years, putting money into a pension or 401k, hoping it grows enough to live on when they're old. But who manages those funds? Financial institutions that charge fees, take percentages, and profit whether your investments go up or down. You take all the risk. They take guaranteed cuts. The rich don't rely on pensions or 401s. They create income streams, businesses, real estate, investments they control. They don't wait until they're 70 to enjoy their money, because they understand the game isn't about saving, it's about cash flow. Now you might be thinking, but I don't have capital, I don't have money to start a business, I'm stuck. And that's exactly what the system wants you to believe. But here's the truth. The rich didn't start rich. What they had that you don't isn't money, it's mindset. They saw opportunities where others saw obstacles. They took risks while others played it safe. They built leverage while others traded time. Leverage. That's the word the middle class never truly understands. Leverage means using something small to move something big. It's how the wealthy multiply their efforts. They use other people's time, other people's money, other people's ideas. Meanwhile, the middle class tries to do everything alone. But that's not noble, it's limiting. Look at the difference. A middle class person starts a side hustle and does all the work themselves. They trade their free time for a little extra money. A rich person starts a business and hires people to run it. They trade capital and strategy for exponential returns. One scales, one doesn't. And this is where most people fail. They're terrified of using leverage, terrified of debt, of risk, of relying on others. The rich use debt strategically. They borrow money to buy assets that generate more than the debt costs. They take calculated risks. They build teams. But the middle class plays defense. They avoid debt, avoid risk, avoid anything uncertain. And in doing so, they avoid the very tools that build wealth. Here's another brutal truth. The middle class is educated to be employees. From childhood, you're taught to follow instructions, to please authority, to fit into systems designed by others. School doesn't teach financial literacy. It doesn't teach entrepreneurship. It teaches compliance. And that's not an accident. The system needs workers. It doesn't need entrepreneurs who question everything. So you graduate, get a job, and suddenly you're in the tax trap. Because here's something they definitely don't teach you. Employees pay the most taxes. The rich structure their income through businesses and investments that minimize tax burden legally. They write off expenses. They defer income. But the middle-class employee, every pound, euro, or dollar is taxed before they even see it. They can't write off their commute, their lunch, their work clothes. They just pay and pay and pay. The system doesn't just control your money, it controls your mind. The middle class is bombarded with messages that keep them consuming. Advertisements, social media, influencers, everyone's selling you a lifestyle, an image, an identity you can purchase. And the middle class buys it. Literally. They go into debt for cars they can't afford, houses too big, clothes to impress people they don't even like. They're chasing status symbols instead of building actual wealth. The rich don't fall for this. They buy assets, not liabilities. They care about net worth, not appearances. Real wealth is invisible. It's in investments, in businesses, in systems, not in designer bags or luxury cars that depreciate the moment you buy them. But the middle class has been conditioned to equate spending with success, to show wealth, not build it. And every time they do, they transfer their money to someone who actually understands the game. So what's the way out? First, you have to see the game. You can't win a game you don't know you're playing. Everything I just described, the wage trap, the tax trap, the consumption trap, these aren't accidents, they're features. The system is designed to keep the middle class exactly where they are, comfortable enough not to revolt, but trapped enough never to escape. Second, you have to shift your identity. Stop thinking like an employee, start thinking like an owner. Stop trading time for money, start building systems and assets, stop consuming to impress, start investing to grow. This isn't about working harder, it's about working differently, strategically, with leverage. The middle class stays poor because they follow the script they were given. Go to school, get a job, work hard, retire at 67 if they are lucky. But that script was written by people who profit from your labor. The rich write their own script. They create their own rules. They build their own systems. And until you do the same, you'll stay exactly where you are. You've been handed the truth. Most people will ignore it. They'll go back to their routines, their comfort, their cages. But some of you won't. Some of you will take this and act. The choice is yours. Stay in the system that's designed to extract from you, or step outside it and build something that works for you. The rich aren't smarter than you, they just understand the game. And now, so do you.